Hello everybody and welcome back to the Celtic Way for today's morning briefing, the 2nd of August 2023. My name is Ryan McGinlay and today I am joined by Aidan Macdonald. Aidan, how are you doing this morning?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good. How are you?
Things are good, yeah. I feel like we're always on these briefings at the moment, but yeah, I think it was, under 12 hours ago, 13 hours ago, we were talking about the game, but we're back in the morning briefing. We're back, we're here, and we're always here. Just before we get started on today's topics, if I could direct everybody to the ticker tape at the bottom of the screen, subscribe to the Celtic Way website and support top quality journalism covering the club you love for only £12 for 1 year's access. If you visit www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe, you will get the latest subscription offer, which is only lasting for under 2 days. I think it's just about a day and a half that's left on that current deal, in which if you pay £12, then you'll get a whole year's access, basically £1 a month, and you will get access to all ad light articles. You'll get scouting pieces. You will get instant analysis from the match. Analysis pieces with regards to metrics and data using StatsBomb, big interviews from Tony interviewing everybody and anybody to do with Celtic that's of a recognisable name. So yeah, get involved. It's good content and it helps us going. It keeps us going and it helps us do the channel. And it allows us to do it for free. Do these videos for free daily. Just going on to what we were talking about. So last night, Celtic beat Athletic Club 3-2 at Celtic Park in James Forrest's testimonial. Just before we get on to Rodgers' comments, I don't know if you've got any further thoughts about the game last night, Aidan, about specific performances or about what Rodgers has said.
Well, I think probably just on the game. I know we were discussing off air just before we came on it. We'd both kind of watched it back in different ways, Ryan. You had watched the whole second half back. I said I'd seen the highlights a couple of times between last night and this morning. And I think the more it was kind of reflecting on it, it was quite a positive performance, particularly in the second half. Rodgers himself obviously admitted that in the first 45 minutes, Celtic struggled a bit, and we've seen that with conceding early and then conceding immediately after the equaliser. But the second half, particularly given the players that came on, it was a really positive performance against a good side. And I think probably to just repeat a bit of what we were saying last night, it was a really good sort of test and gauge of where the team are ahead of the opening day against Ross County. So I think I'm probably looking back on the game even more favourably than I was, 12 or 13 hours ago, Ryan, whenever it was we were last on discussing it.
Yeah, as you were saying, I watched the whole second half again just to gauge that second half performance because everybody was sort of raving about it on social media, saying that the people that came into the team really did a good job in staking a claim, especially for Saturday. You think of specific people like David Turnbull, Odin Thiago Holm, Yang did well when he came onto the pitch as well. Just going on to Brendan Rodgers' comments after the game, obviously you kindly done a Q&A full of Rodgers' comments at full time on Celtic TV. When he was talking about the performance, he began by saying it wasn't a great start. He was really happy for James Forrest and the overall performance of the team for him. He said that he thought in the first half we were not very good, if I'm honest. I don't think we started well. We were very passive and gave the ball away. We had some guys playing the first minutes of pre-season, so it was a little bit broken. I thought the second half was excellent, as our position was really good and we kept the ball well. We showed good energy in the second half and I thought our attitude was really good. We scored 2 excellent goals in the second half and overall I'm pleased. It was a really good game to finish with. It was a really good game to finish with against a good side and a lovely turnout for James in terms of the supporters. We will be better and we can be better, but it was a good end to our pre-season. Just those comments, do you agree with that? First half was a bit shaky, but the second half was so much better in terms of performance.
Yeah, he's spot on there. It was, as I was saying in the intro, Celtic really did struggle in that first 45 minutes. There was some nice wee positive spells. I remember in particular the move that led to Kyogo having a chance. Some nice kind of interplay between Maida, Hatate and Kyogo. But outside of that, and obviously the goal, which as much as Hatate might have struggled at times in the first half, you described it in your instant analysis as it was kind of like the best and worst of Rio Hatate in that first 45 minutes. He did struggle at times, but he took his goal brilliantly. It was a phenomenal finish, and if that's in a sort of more high profile game, it's probably a contender for at least goal of the month, if not more. But yeah, I think that was a kind of fair enough summary from the manager on the first half. They did struggle, but as we were saying, they came into it a lot more in the second 45 minutes, which led to them getting the win.
Yeah, Brendan Rodgers is talking about how then he goes on to talk about how the new boys coped with playing at Celtic Park. I think you can tell a lot with these upcoming comments. I don't know about you, but when I heard them, I was like, there's one guy he's not mentioning here, and he did have a bit of a nightmare at Celtic Park. I'm sure we'll go on to talk about him in a wee bit more detail. So Brendan Rodgers, when he was asked about the new boys, he said, yeah, I think some cope better than others. That is the nature of it when you come to a huge club, and we all know how heavy the jersey is and the demands of being a Celtic player. That is what you have to cope with. I thought Mike Nawrocki for the first time was really good. Odin Thiago Holm was very good in the second half, along with Matt O'Reilly in midfield. Those two were very good. I thought Yang Hyun Jun was excellent on the outside. It was also great to see Anthony Ralston come back. He played really well after being out for a long time. I think the new guys settled in well. They get a sense of what it's like to play here, and obviously that expectation only grows. Just some of the people that he touched upon. Nawrocki, I was impressed with him, but I was also really impressed with Odin Thiago Holm. Now, if you go back and watch the game again, maybe if you watch it for a second time, you specifically look and watch what Odin Holm is doing, I think Celtic have got a star here. I know we've only seen 2-3 performances of him, but he looks every bit that midfielder that could stake a claim in the first team this season. Just talking about those players that he's mentioned, Mike Nawrocki, Odin Holm, Yang Hyun Jun. Do you think those three done really well? I know we'll go on to maybe talk about who didn't do as well on the Celtic Park debut, but out of those three, who do you think was the standout?
For me, it was Odin Thiago Holm, Ryan. I know that's maybe been the general consensus online as well, but I thought he was phenomenal. Everything he did was just kind of looked so effortless. He's passing, he's moving. He looked really, really comfortable on the ball, and that is kind of what we did expect when we had him scouted a way back. And also, I know you spoke to a Norwegian football expert as well, Ryan, and they basically kind of parroted that back, that he's a really top talent, really exciting, explosive. He can kind of just do all aspects of the midfield role, and for somebody of his age, he's right up there as one of the top talents among Europe. And you don't want to get too carried away, right? Because it is only 45 minutes. But those comments, maybe at the time we thought there might have been a wee bit of hyperbole in there from maybe some people, but based off that first half last night, he looks a real exciting talent, Ryan, and someone who I don't think anybody would expect him to come in and immediately shake off Hatate or O'Reilly or McGregor or maybe even Turnbull, because these are all established players. But I think across the season, he's going to be right in there fighting for a place in that midfield, which was my probably biggest takeaway from last night. Even though I didn't touch on it in instant analysis, when I actually watched the game back, or the highlights back, I should say, my biggest takeaway probably was that Odin Thiago Holm was going to be in there fighting for a first team place, really from the start of the season, from Saturday onwards, which is a real positive, obviously, for the depth of the squad.
Yeah, I was really impressed with that midfield three in the second half, particularly with Matt O'Reilly, Odin Thiago Holm, and David Turnbull. It seemed to work. It was working wonders. Athletic Club didn't really know what to do with them because of three really technical players that were getting about the pitch. Turnbull, I guess we could sit and talk about Turnbull. You know, the guy's only got a year left in his deal. I was tweeting last night saying I think that's a position or a situation that Celtic should get to the bottom of, to be honest, because if he's going to be playing at this level, then I think it's an absolute no-brainer that Celtic offer him a new deal if they haven't already done so. And if they have, then maybe upping it and ensuring that he gets his extension, because it looks as if from the pre-season performances that we've seen from him so far that Brendan Rodgers is going to get another level out of him. Maybe Turnbull is this managerial stints Stuart Armstrong like the first time, and he can get another couple of years out of him. I was really impressed by David Turnbull last night. You know, he scored his goal for the third goal, but his involvement in the second goal and passing the ball to O'Reilly and in that one touch to Bernabei was just, it was a joy to watch. Just on Turnbull, I don't know about you, but I'm quite surprised this turn up in fortunes for him. It seems as if he's really hungry to make it in that team. You know, he get the captain's armband last night. What do you think the future holds for David Turnbull?
The renaissance of David Turnbull, Ryan. I think I'm going to call it. I also think I may adjust my predictions for the season in terms of most improved player. I think he's sort of dropping into. I've obviously not published him yet. They'll be up on the site over the next couple of days. But yeah, I think Turnbull's starting to force his way into that conversation. I definitely think in terms of the contract, Celtic would be good if we could get some clarification on that situation at some point, even if it's him signing like a 2-year extension, Ryan, so you get another solid year out of him and you don't have to worry about losing him for nothing next season. Maybe a similar sort of situation to Stuart Armstrong when he signed his contract in the middle of that. It was either the summer just after the Invincible treble, in the middle of the second season. We know he then departed in the summer of 2018, but he basically signed that extension, so Celtic still got a healthy fee for him. And even if that was the case with Turnbull, it'd be good if he committed his future even longer, but if that was kind of the minimum that you were to get out of it, I think that would be okay for the short term. But he looked really positive. He got the captain's armband as well, whether or not we can read anything into that, or he was kind of the player that was on the park at that stage. It had been at the club the longest. Could that have just been something as basic as that? I don't know, but did show you that he was getting some trust put in him by the manager as well. Took his goal really well. As we kind of touched on last night, his role along with Matt O'Reilly and Alexandro Bernabe's equaliser was probably one of the kind of tightest goals I've seen for a while from Celtic, and a bit like Tatatis, if that happens in a competitive game, it's definitely a contender for goal of the month. But yeah, I thought Turnbull was really good last night, and I've been impressed with him in pre-season overall. I thought he was really good against Gambo Saka as well, and he obviously, as much as by the time he came on the pitch against Yokohama, if man knows the game was kind of gone, he scored a nice goal as well in that match. So I've been impressed with David Turnbull. I don't think he would be necessarily a guaranteed first choice for the weekend or going forward. I would imagine it will probably be Matt O'Reilly in that position at the weekend, Ryan, until something happens. But I think it'd be really good to get Turnbull signed up on some sort of contract extension just to clear things up, because him along with Liel Abada have been kind of two maybe surprise packages during pre-season so far, which has been reassuring to see.
Yeah, and it again goes back to the point that Brendan Rodgers always seems to improve players that are already at the club. Now, both talents that you've mentioned there, and Abada and Turnbull, are both great players. We know that they've did it before. You know, they've got the track record of performing for Celtic in big games. You know, Turnbull was such a big part, or he was one of the best parts in that terrible season that we won't talk about. Liel Abada was a great player in Celtic's first season, kept up his consistent numbers in his second season despite limited game time. I'm just thinking with regards to the giving David Turnbull the captain's armband, do you think that's in the similar sort of mould to the charm offensive that Postecoglou played with Ryan Christie to maybe try and get him on a new deal? I know that Ryan Christie took the captain's armband just before he left the club to join Bournemouth. Do you think that's maybe like a sort of, not a parting gift of that, but basically like a showing of how important David Turnbull is to this team? I know we were talking about how he was probably the most senior player on the pitch at that point and the person that's been at the club longest, but they could have easily given the captain's armband to Starfelt in that situation. The fact is they didn't. They gave it to Turnbull, who isn't really known for being a leader or being a talker on the pitch. Do you think there's more to that, or do you think it's just giving it to the more senior player?
I think it's kind of hard to read into it when it's a pre-season friendly. I think probably the obvious example people say is a counter-argument to that point would be when Postecoglou made Albion Ayeti the captain for his very first game. Again,
that is true. Good point.
I don't remember who it was against. I want to say Sheffield Wednesday, but I could be wrong there.
I think you're right.
And that was because he was the only guy with kind of really any first team experience in the starting 11. It wasn't quite the same case with Turnbull last night. As you pointed out, Starfelt was there, but Turnbull's obviously the player that's been there the longest, given that he joined in 2020. I think it's maybe just to show that he has in Rodgers' plans, but we could already kind of gather that to an extent across other pre-season games, because I think he'd featured in, I mean, we don't know exactly who featured in that famous closed door game right at the start of the season, but I think he was involved in that game in Portugal that there was highlights released from. Came on against Yokohama, Gambo Saka in Dublin at the weekend. So he has, or last weekend, sorry. So he has been involved in the games, but that maybe did maintain. Rodgers was saying, I do trust you to go out there and perform, whether it's coming off the bench or potentially a starter down the line. And we'll just have to wait and see. I think at the moment it is still Matt O'Reilly's position, Ryan. I don't think most people would dispute that, given he's also been a really good performer in pre-season and he's pretty much started the majority of games in that role. I know it was slightly different last night when Turnbull was on kind of ahead of him, so that is something that is maybe worth discussing. But yeah, I think Turnbull has kind of been maybe reborns, maybe a wee bit too harsh, a wee bit too dramatic, sorry, but I think like Liel Abada, they seem to have a sort of fresh sort of wind in their sails, which is really positive, and yeah, I'd like to see his kind of contract situation kind of cleared up one way or the other relatively soon, because I think it'd be good to get him on an extension.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with that as well, and I can't believe I'm saying that because I think a couple of months ago I said that he'd be one of the first players to leave,
I
especially
was the
with his
same, Ryan.
contract.
With Abada as
But,
well. I was the same
this
with
is
Abada.
this is what pre-season does. It puts players back in the spotlight, whether they're working their ticket for a move or they're trying to get an extension on their deal or trying to make it into the first team. Who knows? Who knows their motives? Who knows their motivations? But as long as it benefits Celtic, then I'm all for it either way. Just before we go on to players that maybe didn't do as well, I think there's some players that have kind of went under the radar last night. I would say, just putting my opinion out there, I think Liam Scales had another good game last night in defence. I thought his distribution from defence to midfield was very, very good. He's quite clearly a good passer of the ball. I'm not sure where he ranks in terms of the current centre halves, but he's not done himself any harm with his performances in pre-season. I don't think he's put himself about quite well, and it'll be interesting to see where his future lies. I think the same could be said in pre-season for O as well. Oh Hyung Yu. I thought he was absolutely brilliant last night. He's such a hard-working player, and I think that goes under the radar as well of how hard-working he is. He's always running for every loose ball, he doesn't give up on chances. He doesn't give up on maybe a ball going out of play or that. He wants to make tackles. I think in the first couple of minutes when he came on, he made a tackle and went through a guy. So you're like, the started you mean to go on. But his assist, he got the assist for David Turnbull's goal. You'd think it would be the other way about for the striker to the midfielder. You thought it'd be the midfielder to the striker, but I think that just shows levels to his game as well. What's your opinion on those two players before we maybe touch on players that didn't do as well last night?
I think in terms of Scales, Ryan, he has probably went a bit under the radar in pre-season, but did quite well. I think he was getting good praise after the game at the weekend, and he did against Premier League opposition. He equipped himself pretty solid overall. It does look like that loan spell at Aberdeen has benefited him. I still think personally he's maybe a wee bit below the quality to be a starter at Celtic, but also to be a backup. Just my opinion. You can obviously debate who's better between him and Kobayashi, etc. There's an argument there because Kobayashi struggled, but I think he's equipped himself well in pre-season. He's not done himself any harm. I will be interested to see if does he end up kind of at Celtic for at least 6 months, because as far as we kind of understand it, it's between maybe Aberdeen are still interested, but there's a wage disparity there if they want to sign him in a permanent. Whether or not Aberdeen would take him back on loan, I don't know. Depends on obviously their kind of signing policy under Barry Robson, whether or not they'd rather get somebody more permanent in. But I think Scales has done well and probably has been a wee bit of a surprise in pre-season. He's been effective. I still don't think I'd be kind of wanting to see him lining up, from the start of the weekend, and I don't think he will, given all the players that we know are now available. But no, he's not done his case any harm, and I think he's been relatively positive overall. In terms of I've been really impressed with him in pre-season, and I don't want to repeat too much of what I said last night, but I think his assist in the game against the Athletic Club was kind of shows how much he's came on since he joined Celtic, because previously when you see the angle from behind the goal, he might have had a chance to just snatch at it and try and beat the keeper at the near post by firing it, but he kind of looks up, plays the ball across the Turnbull, and it was a really tidy goal. I think that's probably the development of kind of 6 months with Postecoglou, regular coaching all the time, and also a pre-season with Rodgers. That's really developed his game. So yeah, I'm excited to see what O can do this season. We know Kyogo's the number 1, and Maida's also featured in that role as the number 9, but I think O is going to have something to say about that and try to challenge. And I know I'd kind of pointed out last night that maybe one of the games you might have an opportunity to start in is Kilmarnock away. That could be sort of a game that Rodgers pinpoints as put O in from the start. There's always a chance he just goes with Kyogo, because also it is an important game. But yeah, I've been impressed with O, and he's another one that's not done his sort of case for a first team place any harm, Ryan, over these sort of last 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah, very, very impressed. Just before we go on to talk about maybe a player that didn't do as well, I'll just direct everybody again to the bottom of the screen. We're currently doing a deal, £12 for 1 year's access, ad light access. If you subscribe to the Celtic Way website, support top quality journalism covering the club you love for only £12 for a year, as I said. www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. It helps us continue to do these free videos daily. So yeah, it helps us a lot. And if you are interested, then please give us a subscribe under 2 days in this current deal. It's our best deal yet. So get involved, guys. Yeah, I think just going back to the first half, and I didn't really want to talk too much about negatives in this game because there were a lot of positives. But I thought one player that really did struggle last night was Quan. Quite a contrast to his performance, I think, against Wolves, it's fair to say, where I thought he had a really good debut. I don't know if it was maybe the nerves that got to him. I think Rodgers was kind of alluding to that in his post-match comments. He's saying sometimes the jersey's really heavy, especially when you're playing at Celtic Park. A lot of people online, a lot of people on social media are sort of writing him off already, saying that, who is this guy that Celtic have signed? I'm not going that far. I just think it was a bit of a nervy Celtic Park debut, and I think there's definitely more to come from him. But you can't hide away from the fact that it was quite an unconvincing performance from Quan in that defensive midfield role.
Yeah, he did struggle. We can't deny that, but I think you've summed it up quite well there. That he probably is just getting used to his surroundings, and I think it can just be the case sometimes. It's we kicked the ball out a couple of occasions. Bear in mind, Celtic were already 1-0 down early, and the whole team kind of struggled in that first 15-20 minutes. I know Quan also probably later in the first half, and the Celtic were starting to come back into it. He was still a wee bit off the pace, but I don't think anybody can write him off. Yeah, it wasn't a great performance from him, and the fact that the manager doesn't mention him but mentioned the other three sort of players that were making their first appearance at Celtic Park probably highlights that overall Quan did struggle in that game. But yeah, I think he's still got plenty to give, and I think he showed against Wolves that he can be an effective player. But yeah, some of his passing did leave a little bit to be desired, Ryan. But it's one of those ones that's maybe we're kind of picking and choosing when to sort of get excited about aspects of this game and when to play it down because it's a pre-season game. So maybe I'm going to contradict myself a wee bit when I'm saying this about Quan, but I think it is a bit too early to be judging him in that regard. And key is one, there's no guarantee he's going to get loads of game time all the time. We're talking about Canode and Thiago home break up that midfield, but Quan will be trying to do that as well. And, he's got O'Reilly in front of him, McGregor, Hatate, Turnbull, all these sort of guys. So it will be difficult for him. But yeah, I think he still would have to see a bit more of him before we could give a definite opinion whether or not he's going to be good enough or not.
Yeah, and I think it doesn't help that Hatate had a very mixed game as well in that midfield. All of a sudden, when you've got two players that are sort of underperforming, the levels that they can play at. We've seen it like 3 days ago against Wolves that Quan can obviously step into that midfield and do a job in that role. When you've got two players that are underperforming, then it's only McGregor that's really getting pass marks in that midfield in the first half, apart from Hatate's goal, which sort of atones for his error for the first goal. Yeah, it's a difficult ask for Quan especially. I thought that the midfield was it was too spaced out as well. There was too much space between Quan and the other midfielders, which left him a wee bit exposed. There was a couple of mistakes that he made, but these are things that can get ironed out. Not if every player was to get judged on their first couple of games, then Henrik Larsson would have been a Celtic flop. I'm not comparing the two for a start, but he had a shocker of a debut and he did not too bad as well. It's one of those ones. Players will just get used to. Players just need to get used to playing for Celtic. He's coming from the Korean second division to now going to be playing Champions League football and Scottish top flight domestic football. It is a step up. You're just hoping that he can make that adjustment quickly and become the player that Celtic obviously see him becoming. But yeah, it's definitely a can do better. I don't think he'll be starting at the weekend, that's for sure. I think he'll be on the bench. He'll probably be lucky to get on in the second half with regard to how other midfielders performed in that game. But there's definitely more to come from Quan, and I'm not too worried about him at this point. Don't know about you, I'm not worried.
Nah, I don't think so, Ryan. I think you need to give him a good few competitive games. Whether or not he's going to be able to accumulate that game time quickly is another discussion because of how strong Celtic are in that midfield area. It could be a while before he gets a sort of significant run in the team if he does get one. But yeah, I don't think anybody can be writing him off. And I think it's a really important point you made about maybe Hitate's sort of. I don't even maybe poor's a bit harsh, but we know he did struggle at times in that game. I think the fact is he was giving the ball away a lot in that midfield, which probably kind of had Quan kind of tracking back at times or maybe caught on his heels. I know Quan also did misplace a few passes, kicked it out the odd time, but yeah, I think it's a bit early to be judging Quan too much, and I think we'll have to kind of reassess it maybe, I don't know, 6 months down the line or if he does get a significant run of games in between there after like 10 games, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. Just going on to the last of Rodgers' comments, we've spoken about the individual performances, but then he's talking about the league season and how much he's looking forward to it. So he was asked, how do you feel for the league season? He said, there's a couple of days to go, but we will be ready for Saturday when it matters. The players have worked very hard and have lots of minutes in their legs. They're coming off the back of a game on Saturday as well. It all helps the preparation. I am really pleased. We will refine some tactical details over the next few days, but overall, I am really happy and we will be ready for the weekend. And then he was asked, how excited are you for the season ahead? Yeah, I think Saturday brings an end to the celebration of winning the treble and, of course, winning the league, which is our bread and butter. As soon as that flag is up, we're looking to not just defend it, but also win it again. That all starts on Saturday. Sounds like a guy that's really hungry. You know, I think he heard the adulation of the fans when he came out. He got a really, really good reception, as did James Forrest with regards to his testimonial. But yeah, any sort of dissenting voices that could have happened, it didn't happen last night. It seemed as if the crowd were very much with Brendan Rodgers. There was a big cheer when he came out to address the fans. So yeah, that's pre-season now over. Now it's the start of it's the countdown to the opening day, which is Flag Day against Ross County. He seems like he's very excited to go and get the job started in this defence of the league. Do you think that the team is ready and prepared for the start of the season? Because it certainly sounds like it from Brendan Rodgers' perspective.
I think, obviously, as you're saying, from Rodgers' perspective, but also getting the defenders back in terms of Starfelt, in terms of Carter Vickers, in terms of Ralston and Navrosky also making his debut. Suddenly the squad does seem a bit stronger than it maybe felt even in Monday this week when we were discussing it, and obviously after the Wolves game. I think the team is ready for the domestic campaign, yeah. There's plenty of players there that are good enough to get the job done in the league and the cup, in my opinion. I think we do need a wee bit more in terms of depth in what areas exactly, potentially goalkeeper, maybe a fullback, another winger potentially for the Champions League round, but also we don't need to go into that too much because we've kind of discussed that to death at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think for the domestic season, the squad's ready. The manager seems sort of switched on, and that second half performance was really encouraging yesterday, Ryan. I think aspects of the first half against Wolves have kind of shown that over the last couple of games of pre-season, Celtic have ramped it up a bit, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it now. It's getting to that exciting part, the competitive football. That's what we all want, and yeah, I think Celtic, in terms of squad-wise, that they're well placed for domestic duties and starting with Ross County at the weekend, but for Europe, hopefully that they'll still add a couple more players.
Yeah, that's what we're looking for and hoping for. Really excited for this new league season. It seems that Brendan Rodgers is as well. It's Ross County at the weekend, Saturday afternoon, Flag Day. You couldn't ask for a better opening fixture, especially at Celtic Park. Should be a good game for everybody involved. Yeah, I think 28 minutes in, I think we've discussed the Athletic Club game to death almost. So I think we'll leave it at there. Just before we finish off, guys, thank you very much for commenting, everybody. And if you are interested in what we do and you want to support us even further in the top quality journalism that we provide you guys, then you can look at the ticker tape down below. If you subscribe to the Celtic Way website and support top quality journalism, which covers the club that you love, for only £12 right now for 1 year's access. As I said before, it's only on for another day and a half, so get in quick and get a good deal. £12 for a year, that equates to £1 a month, and you'll be sorted for the whole of next season. For big match reviews, big match verdicts, big interviews, scouting pieces, analysis pieces from Alan Morrison, Duco James, opinion pieces and features from Aidan and myself. So yeah, anything that you could look for and ask for, it will be on the website, and we endeavour to give you the best Celtic journalism possible. So that is 29 minutes in, Aidan. I think we've discussed the Athletic Club game enough. Thank you very much, Aidan, for joining me today on the Celtic Briefing.
Thanks very much, mate. Always a pleasure.
And thank you, everybody in the comments. We'll be back tomorrow at the same time to discuss everything Celtic. Cheers, guys.